YouTube, look at this thing. It is the Twin Otter UMX. This thing is amazing. We had to fly it in pretty inopportune conditions the first time we got it. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna fly it. It does not have a rudder, but it has differential thrust, removable nose gear, removable mains, and yes, you can put flaps. No, excuse me, you can put floats, but no flaps. I'm gonna just show you how this works. Even without a steerable nose gear, you have plenty of authority to actually go in a circle, in a fairly tight circle, no less. Now let's show you how quick you can get in the air. Stall performance, and you're up. Look at this, guys. Who needs a rudder when you can do that? Okay, out of the throttle. Beautiful landing lights, forward-facing white lights. We got an anti-crash beacon on the top, anti-collision beacon on the top of the rudder, vertical stabilizer. And then we basically have a bright green nav light and a red nav light. And then we have the absolutely customary angle of attack for a Twin Otter. Look at this, guys. See how it sits pointed up just slightly? That is exactly what you'd expect to see on this thing. And what a beautiful sunset we get tonight. I think I've been about 60% throttle here, going right behind. You good? Mm-hmm. Full throttle. Okay, here we go. Look at the power, guys. This is on 1S. Cornhole. And I just want to show you something too. Look how slow you can fly this thing. I could reach out and grab it. I'm not going to do it, but you could if you wanted to. Okay, camera crew, let's go up here a little bit. Let's see if we can do a little bull flying. Get that pink sky behind us. What an absolutely gorgeous gift of an evening.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Who wants to live in a northern climate until you get days like this? Then you think, what an absolute daydream of an evening. Early afternoon. Excuse me, this is a late afternoon. Right over. And the differential thrust is spot on. Similar flight controller to what we had in the Ultrix, which is how you can do crazy things like this. I'm gonna go up here and hopefully do a flat spin. Okay. Oh, didn't do a flat spin. Sorry, guys. I thought I had that flat spin figured out, but I don't. I just love flying this plane too. It's so much fun. It's super duper easy to fly, and you can slow it down, which is so weird because I know a lot of you guys think fast is better, and that might be true for a lot. But the thing is, this plane is just so flyable in small spaces. I could stay on this side of the driveway in the front yard, and look at this, I'm making a square. Staying inside, let's go to the middle of the driveway. Actually, let's go over here. Let's go on a little nature walk. You ready for nature walk time?
Sure.
Now, you do have telemetry that will tell you your pack voltage because only one cell, go up there a little bit ahead of me. Thanks, camera crew. We're just gonna fly right over here. We'll go around the flagpole. As you can see, there's a little bit of wind, not a lot, but just a little bit. Right overhead. Check this out. Oh yeah, that's so gorgeous. Okay, if you want to get out there by the edge. Just a different backdrop for you. We don't hardly ever film from this spot, but it's kind of fun to do it once in a while. Obviously the power lines, we had those taken down this year. That was a large undertaking, and we appreciate you guys supporting us through all these big capital improvements on our property. We've been trying to get this set up so it's just a maximum flight performance. We just love bringing this awesome footage to you. And how do you do it without having amazing aircraft? This thing is so much better than any cheap Chinese toy you're gonna get, because I'm telling you right, 1 minute warning. I'm telling you right now, this thing is so good. And it's like dinky, and it is EPS, but you know what? I don't care because it's light, it's agile, it flies like it's a huge plane. I think it flies better than its big brother. Perfect right there. And so I have almost no complaints. My only complaint is I would have liked to see flaps. And the thing is, I think there's still room for improvement on the UMX lineup in that regard, but look how amazing this thing flies even without flaps. You know what I really want to do, but I don't think I could do it successfully?
Land on the snow.
I want to go over the bridge.
Oh.
But I don't think I can do it necessarily successfully, and I'm not willing to tempt fate.
Yeah.
Shooting the moon, guys. Now, one thing to keep in mind too is when you're flying a plane with differential thrust, you have to keep in mind you're going to lose some level of yaw authority if you lose all your power. So don't totally dead stick the thing, because you won't be able to change your yaw. Let's try this. I just wanted to point out one other thing too. You'll notice when I brought that in, it bounced and went off to the side. That's one thing you do kind of need to watch out for on these aircraft. What, did somebody go into the mud here? Must have been a crazy pilot. So I'm gonna put this down, we're gonna take back off, but you can control it on takeoff. It's just on landing, you have to remember to stay on your mains. Because if you don't stay on your mains, guess what's gonna happen? You're not gonna be able to control your trajectory very good. Okay, so we'll land right between us.
Okay.
Camera crew, give them a pan quick so they know where we are. Okay. See that, guys? And then you see what's happening? I'm gonna show you why that's happening. My throttle cut's on. You see what happened to my landing gear? It just tipped over a little bit on my last landing. So make sure that you're checking your landing gear each time you land. And if you have to occasionally pull it out and just center it, it's not a big deal. You see that square box? Camera crew, if you can hold that for just a sec. All you have to do is just bend this a little bit. And if you have needle nose pliers, you can get that bent right over, no problem. I try to take them out of the plane if I can get them out. And then I just do that. If it doesn't go square, then I switch the direction. Okay, now we'll try again, because we have just a little bit more power going here out of the throttle cut. Let's do a real shallow takeoff so as not to waste a lot of power. Look how gorgeous that is. Flying under our feet, that is just a fun thing to do. Okay, going out here over the short trees. We're gonna do another landing right at us if you're okay with that, camera crew, if you want to stay right where you are.
Yep.
Okay, coming in on final. Very nice, guys. See? And now it's rolling a little bit to the right.
Yep.
So like I was telling you, on takeoff, you have plenty of command over your trajectory, left or right, because you can kind of yank it a little bit. But when you're landing, you're out of throttle. So the more throttle you give it, just like with the Delta Ray back in the day, used to take forever to land that thing. It would just get into ground effect and float for miles. Also, if you're flying in a really tight spot, I just want to show you how tight you can make it. This is not a very big spot, but let's say between me and the house, we would say probably 75 feet, okay? So 75 feet, throttle cuts off. I'm on a dead battery, guys, okay, essentially. And look at this. I'm not even taking up half of that 75, maybe 3/4, okay? Hey, you're in the middle of my runway. Can you go back over to the edge? Now we're into the low voltage warning, guys. And that's the other thing you gotta watch for, is that when you get into low voltage warning, it's gonna pulse. So you'll still have differential thrust, but it's gonna be limited. And so I love flying this plane, but just a couple things to keep in mind. And also I do have my throttle cut on. You don't wanna get cut because those props are right there next to your hand, and these little suckers spin fast. It's more of like a really, really, really terrible paper cut. You probably won't end up at the hospital, but you could if you really did it right. So anyway, guys, just love this plane. It's absolute joy to fly. One of my favorite UMX planes. And yes, you can have your very own if you follow the links in the video description below. You can buy and you'll be supporting Brian Phillips RC. The camera crew, of course, who is my wonderful wife of many years, Megan. She has a name. And then also, if you guys want to put floats on this, make sure you order the floats for the UMX Sport Cub S. That's the same floats that you would get for this. Also, if you're ever curious, if you need a manual or anything like that, you can go onto the video description, click on the plane, and then what it'll do is if you just scroll down, you'll see the optional parts, the replacement parts, and then any sort of the documentation or firmware updates and things like that for a particular item. So I don't know, I don't mention that hardly ever because I think it's sort of counterintuitive to mention things that you already know. But at the same time, some people haven't figured it out yet. And then also, when you put your floats in, you'll be putting them in here and here. Or here and not there. So just keep in mind there is a different slot for the actual float mechanism. But what an absolute beaut. And then yes, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys this. Oh, that is so cool. Differential thrust is just a joy. Looks so cool. I love this finish on the prop.
For sure.
So cool. And the AS3X is second to none on this thing. Safe works perfectly. If you're a newer pilot, just keep in mind this is EPS, not EPO, which means it's going to be easier to break. But that doesn't mean you can't fly it. It just means that when you do crash it, which is inevitable if you're a new pilot, don't feel bad. You're gonna have to fix it. And we do tons of repairs on Brian Phillips RC. We just did one the other day. We'll be doing one tomorrow, more than likely. Just depends on the day and how stupid I did something. But if you do break this, make sure you get yourself some foam to foam. We have links to that too. And it's just a normal product. If you can't find that, there's a million other good choices like CA's, and Bob Smith Industries seems to be kind of like my go-to on that with some kicker. Make sure you get foam safe on EPS. It will melt with non-foam safe. But if you have an EPO, many times you can get away with non-foam safe, but I still use foam safe to be on the safe side. Okay, and it has to do with the cure rate. And if you slow down the cure enough, it won't damage the EPS, but it will, if you kicker foam safe, sometimes you will actually damage the foam safe. Excuse me, even with foam safe, which is the white cap on BSI, Bob Smith Industries. You may actually even melt that. So be aware. Use kind of an unseen spot to test it if you're not sure. Put a little kicker on there. It kind of changes from clear to like yellow. Looks like your dog peed on it. And so just all sorts of tips on Brian Phillips RC. Anyway, this is a great plane. I love it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the fact that we get all these LEDs. Don't know why we haven't had this on every single plane from Horizon ever since they started doing it, to be perfectly frank. I love these LEDs even better than some of the big LEDs. I would love to see these on the economy 1.2 meter planes. Is there a reason we don't? I don't know. Maybe you could ask Horizon. But anyway, Horizon, if you're listening, we appreciate you guys. Don't hate us for pointing out the obvious, but we do love these planes and we do want flaps and we do want LEDs. So just both would be great if we could get that, or at least flaperons, please. We got flaperons on the Timber X UMX, right?
I think that was it.
And they work great.
Yeah.
The flaperons are amazing. Not quite as cool as inboard flaps on the Turbo Timber UMX, but the Turbo Timber UMX only uses 2S. And we get 3S on the Turbo Timber X Stream with the shorter wingspan. And full-length flaperons are always better than outboard ailerons, in my opinion. And look at this. This is essentially a full-length, almost a full-length. Not quite. And by the way, if there's a will, there's a way. I put flaps on almost every UMX that they said you couldn't do. And if you're curious and you want to go back into a time warp, you can watch me do that on pretty much all the planes. Frustratingly as it may be, I think I had success on every single plane except for the F-16 UMX, which sucked in the 28 millimeter size. But when they come out with the 30, oh, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait, because the 30 millimeter EDF is just to die for. And the 28 millimeter sucked. It was so weak and it was so not powerful. Plus I sucked as a pilot too, because I was brand new.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, anyway.
Long.
All right, good times, guys. Thanks for watching. So much more to come from Brian Phillips RC.